Okay, back to it. Time is ticking. Quote, the dustbin of history, quoting Holly Melgard, quoting Jean Baudrillard. Question, if poetry isn't based on perception, what other options are there? Answer, how about lying? Misremembered conversation with Brian Kim Steffens. The radically closed text is good for nothing. I no longer want to continue to pretend that the text says anything. The radically closed text, by dissimulation, is closed to the world and obstinately silent to the reader. It forces endurance, rejects the participation with the community, and thus, by analogy, the immortality implicit in the other social, economic, cultural archives. It presents a demotic pleasure, childish in its obsessive return to itself. Someone has turned off the humidor. The cigars are rotting. It speaks for writing that is negative rather than generative. Through repetition and appropriation, whole-scale theft. It sells literature off the back of the truck. The writer maintains total control and challenges authority as a principle. If the radically closed text foregrounds process, who knows what that means anyways? Are you talking about keyboard strokes? The writer's notebook? 2 eyes staring dumbly out of your head? Or your experience as a reader? But let's pretend I do know and repeat. If the radically closed text foregrounds process, it is the original texts, the material stolen and used, framed, and never itself. It is a poetry of dumb facts sculpted on the page that do not speak internally, but always point outwards until the deictic gesture rigidifies, creating an abscess, a negativity. Polemic. It's time to acknowledge that all attempts to continue thinking about poetry, recycling the concerns/issues from language poets, objectivists, or Black Mountain College, is the artistic equivalent of Civil War reenactment. If people want to stand in the Gettysburg gift shop with one eye on each other's wrists, making sure no one is wearing a digital watch, then let them. I'll be on YouTube. Which is literal. I didn't know.
You just broke the 4th YouTube wall.
I have to go home now.
Oh no. I'm very polemical in my house, and normally, that's why you shouldn't read things you write it late at night. I'm very nice. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to read, I think the last thing, is something called The Lazarus Project. And I think because it's hard to listen to this at all, I'm going to explain what it is. It's murder scenes in movies written backwards so nobody dies.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm not going to make you listen to too much of it, I promise. And then there's just a bunch of ephemera to start it off. Okay. Note, because this project is categorized as being in production, the data is subject to change. Some data could be removed completely. This blend of farce with brutal killings is as pointless as it is lacking in taste, since it makes no valid commentary upon the already travestied truth. New York Times, 14th of August, 1967. Kaye, but doesn't it seem dangerous to you to be able to manipulate at will the reactions of the public, which, being less interested in the characters, is only responsive to your manipulation? Cahiers du Cinema, December 1967. The Godfather, 1972. Interior, night, Luna Azzurra. He sees a frozen tableau of the murder, as though it had been recreated in wax. He walks quickly out of the restaurant, looks back. His hand relaxes. The gun falls to the floor with a dull thud. His face, finally he closes his eyes. His hand still holding the gun. Michael's face frozen in its expression. He moves, not letting the gun go, still gripping the gun. His hand is frozen by his side. He starts to move out. Michael is wildly at a peak. McCluskey finally falls from the chair to the table. Sollozzo, still in his chair, side of his body propped up by the table. Michael looks at his 2 victims. The waiter steps backward through the mist of blood, an expression of horror on his face. Now he carefully shows his hand to be empty. He does not make a move, seemingly paralyzed. Michael swings toward the man standing by the bathroom wall. The air is filled with pink mist. Then coolly and deliberately, Michael fires again, fires right through McCluskey's white-topped skull. He makes a horrible, gagging, choking sound. Michael fires, catching McCluskey in his thick, bulging throat. There is McCluskey, frozen, the fork with a piece of veal suspended in air before his gaping mouth. Michael pivots and looks. Sollozzo seems in a perpetual fall to the floor, though he seems to hang in space suspended. The waiter looks in amazement. Suddenly, his white jacket is sprayed and stained with blood. We see part of Sollozzo's head blown away, and a spray of fine mist of blood cover the entire area. He pulls the trigger. With his right hand, puts the gun right against Sollozzo's head, just touching the temple. He shoves the table away from him with his left hand, and Sollozzo turns to speak. The waiter comes to ask about the order. Sollozzo begins to speak in Sicilian, but Michael's heart is pounding so hard he can barely hear him. Sollozzo leans toward Michael, who sits down uncomfortably, and his hands move under the table to unbutton his jacket. The man by the far wall had been stiff with attention. Now he too relaxes. Michael, I feel much better. Now I can talk. He sits down. Then he smiles and continues back to the table. Sollozzo turns around upon hearing the door and looks directly at Michael. McCluskey is eating a plate of spaghetti and veal. 00:42:44, parentheses, Baldwin, close parentheses. Allison, 00:42:47, bracket, wind whooshing, close bracket. 00:42:52, oh my God, what have they done to you? 00:42:54, Allison, come home, they beat me and kicked me. 00:42:59, all because I love you.